Good evening, good evening. I know that I've been gone for a long time from my medical coding buddy class. I have been putting some things together for you, an actual training package. But I wanted to talk back at you and let you know that I'm offering the medical terminology, anatomy, as well as medical terms together. It's going to be an actual free class that I'm going to be offering all of my followers who come onto this channel. And I will be giving you a brief overview today about the medical terminology. Now, I have taken medical terminology in many different aspects, from a lecturing classroom all the way to taking it from the Dean Von medical terminology. I've even taught Dean Von medical terminology for Blue Cross Blue Shield's department when I was their trainer, training all of the claim processors, those who were getting prepared to process Part B Medicare claims. The background I've had has been a minor in biology, anatomy, physiology, chemistry, and pathology. So those foundations give me the ability to teach college courses and to teach medical terminology at the junior college. Now, coming from a perspective from the college, there is certain curriculums that you have to follow. However, I'm an independent trainer and contractor, and I'll be teaching this particular class from a curriculum that I have chosen. It would allow me to use videotapes as well as independent online training. Now, this class guarantees that you'll retain 80% of the information. As you know, in medical terminology, it's very easy to forget the terminology, and over time, you have to go back and refresh yourself and take the class again so that you are current, because you need these foundational classes when you are working with medical coding, ICD-10. It used to be ICD-9, but we've transitioned in the last 2 years into ICD-10. And as a foundational class, you must know the medical terminology. A number of trainers profess that you don't need anatomy to be able to code, but I personally think you do. You need the anatomy and the physiology. If possible, you can take the 4-hour medical, you can take the actual medical terminology separate, and then you take the anatomy and physiology with a lab, preferably not with the fetal pig, but with a cadaver. And I have taken it with a cadaver. So what I'm going to be giving you today is basically an overview of some of the things that I'm going to be doing in that classroom. And it's a cohort, so you'll be seeing me as I assign the lectures where I can come online, but the majority of the work you'll be doing independently. Now, medical terminology is a Latin language, okay? So you're going to be learning how to speak Latin terminology. And you'll be able to learn all of the skeletal system, the integumentary system, the muscle system, the circulatory system. You'll be going through all these different avenues for the body to give you a foundation so you'll know exactly what it is that you're going to need when you have to code. When you code, you must know these systems, and you must be able to go to the index rather rapidly. So I'll be also teaching you from home health coding. This is not your hospital coding, outpatient. This is home health coding. So it works with OASIS, that works in the nursing home, or it would work, you could work with compliance that works in the home health center or the hospice center. So it's a little bit different from the test that you would take for the certified coding specialist. This is basically for those elderlies who are in the nursing home setting. So I will be teaching you from that perspective. It'll give you something brand new to learn if you've already learned outpatient and in hospital coding. This will be for those who want to work with OASIS, where you'll be working with Medicare, Medicaid, and the regulations of compliances. And because I do professional development, one of my areas is going to be the compliance area. So I'll be heavy on the handbook and what the requirements are for you to come into the profession. There is a handbook that the home health agency have put together, and they expect you to know the regulations, and they expect you to understand that these are the guidelines, the ethics of your profession, so that you are not out of guideline and that you are not obliterating some compliance that your profession requires you to know. So we'll be going over the handbooks next time we meet, the regulations and the rules. I'll go over those with you. And from time to time, while teaching medical term and anatomy, I'll be incorporating some of the compliance rules for home health, so you can get an understanding of what the rule book and the handbook says for home health. Now, even though I've been away for a while, I've been putting some other classes together online for other programs. However, I hadn't forgotten about this particular class. I just took a break from it to make sure that I can get the necessary attention where people will enroll. When people hear anatomy and physiology, they shy away from it. Even if it is for free, they shy away from it because they think about, can I retain this information? Will I remember it? And will it be a hard class? No. The Dean by Medical Terminology course is a very interesting class and a fun class. This is probably going to be the most fun class you've ever taken before, where you'll be learning from referencing to memory and sight memory of what you see. So I'm going to ask you not to take notes the next time we meet. I'm going to encourage you or demand that you put your pencils down and not take notes, because this is going to be the way you're going to be learning, from actually viewing the videotape to listen to me pronunciate some of the words that you will have to know, and we will go through these Latin terms together. There will be quizzes, of course. You will have to test yourself to make sure you can retain information. The whole point of this class is to see if you can retain 80% of the information and recall it. So I'm going to have to quiz you and also give you tests to see that you know this information. It's going to be fun. A lot of you will decide to come into the medical field behind taking this class. When I talked for Blue Cross Blue Shield, a lot of people had never had any medical background and they wanted to process claims. Once I taught the Dean Blunt medical class, they became very interested in going back to school to get their 1-year certificate in coding or their 2-year associate degree in medical records. I started with the 2-year associate program in medical records. Here you can see that I have my little emblem on, my little plaque that I wore when I did my internship. I had already had my bachelor's degree already in education. So this was a scholarship I had won, so I was going back to school to learn about medical records. So I spent 2 years in the program and started with my internship, and I got offered a job to teach at one of the local schools, and then that evening to teach at a 2-year junior college. So I was fortunate. I was able to apply all my information along with my bachelor's degree. And then I was working on my master's degree, so it allowed me to teach at the junior college. And that was really a blessing for me because I had so much school. I figured that, you could be a lifetime student, and I'm not trying to be a lifetime student. But I would like to continue to teach at the college level in the area of medical coding, along with the preparatory classes such as anatomy, medical terminology, and physiology. So come along with me and go along for the ride, because this is a free ride for you. This is definitely a college course where when you finish, you'll be given a certificate of completion. And it will definitely indicate how many hours you have put in. There is going to be some grunt work, of course. You're going to have to after you watch the video, to sit down and to use flashcards to remember these terms and put these Greek words together so that they will make sense to you. Understanding how to divide the syllables up so you can break the syllables up and understand what the definition of the word is. Now, I know on my YouTube there are a number of different recordings. You can go out and listen to some of those recordings. I had introduced you to the profession of going to the conferences and how necessary it was to become a member of these various different associations. Yes, it's a little costly to pay the fee to become a member, but a lot of you get access, and when you do your taxes, to writing off some of the membership and to also write off the conferences and continuing education classes that you have to attend. Now, once you get into this profession, it's never ending. Once you get the license, after 2 years, you have to go back and renew your license, pay a fee, take continuing education hours. And that's what I mainly do. I offer the continuing education hours for those candidates who have license, but they're renewing their license. And I help them to keep their license renewed as a professional development specialist. One of my areas that I offer is in the science foundation and medical terminology. That's why I'm giving it to you for free, to give you an opportunity just this one time. Of course, the next time we teach this class, it will be for a fee. But this semester, I decided to teach this. I think we're looking at between 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to finalize that. And this will be a free class. You will be able to, I guess you would call it, when you come in to survey a class, you don't get a grade for it because you're surveying it. And you get a chance to see that you could take this class and pass it with flying colors and do extremely well. I did well in the class, and then I took it the traditional way, where you go to the college and you take the continuing education class in the evening. And I did extremely well. I aced that class too. So that's why one of my favorite classes for continuing education is to teach is the medical terminology. Now, I have other classes I taught at the college when dealing with Part B Medicare, how to process a claim, and the management of being able to debrief a claim and those claims that are rejected, how to go in and properly audit those claims so that you can successfully pay that claim. So I taught expertise in being a claim processor, and that's another whole area where you can work independently as an independent claim processor, or you can work for an agency. Or you can become a trainer like myself and train others to become a claim processor, or to train them to become a coding specialist. Now, one other thing I will say is that it's better to get the ABCs behind your name, I think. I had all the degrees in the world, which really meant nothing if they were in another capacity. But picking up the ABCs behind your name does not take years. You can do that in a fraction of time. And those ABCs carry a lot of weight. Like in the home health agency, there is a home health agency specializing in OASIS, home health specialty specializing in compliance, home health specialty specializing in diagnosis, home health specialty specializing in hospital and home health. And these are the acronyms you get behind your name, which are the ABCs that I was referencing to. They will actually help you to go on and to better yourself in the profession. Of course, you're going to need some experience. You just can't walk into this profession and just have credentials. You still need some on-the-job experience. Now, some of the other institutions, like AAPC, they offer training online, but they also gave you credit for your training online as if you were in the workforce. So you could actually earn hours of time spent on the job by taking an AAPC. That is another agency that offers credential for the CPC. And then there's HAHIMA, is an organization out of Chicago that also offers training and development. Now, I want to talk to you about the home health agency, because that is what I'm actually focusing in on. A number of you might understand OASIS through Medicaid. Medicaid has a lot of regulations and rules, and you have to adhere to the regulations. Government regulations come out on a yearly basis to offer addendums and updates, and you have to keep up to date with those regulations, because if you don't, you'll fall behind and you won't realize what the new regulations are. So government regulates these stats and rules, and you have to keep abreast with all of these government regulations so that you stay on top of things. Now, one other thing I wanted to say to you is that when you see one of these agencies like AHIMA, AAPC, offering a combinations of seminars and workshops on various different things such as ICD-10, CM training, or if you see them offering something on OASIS training for home health, and those are some of the workshops you definitely want to save your money to go to, because they will also offer training at the workshops, 3-day training. And then if you feel proficient enough, if you've been out there coding for a while and you want to sit for the exam, you can sit for the exam while at the conferences. There's a fee, of course. I think it was $236 last time I checked. And there's a fee for membership. Now, they had a couple of programs going where you paid the membership and then you paid like a discount for your conference. Okay, so you got your conference fee, you have your membership discount, and then you have your test fees if you're going to take your test. Now, once you've taken your test and passed, every 2 years, you've got to renew your license. You can lose your license if you don't continue with the continuing education hours and renew it. So one of the things I also say is that you do need to have an interest in science. A lot of people say, oh, you don't need any science, but I had an interest in biology, so I had a minor in biology, and I was very interested in biology. And when you take your anatomy and physiology, it's no joke if you are taking it with a cadaver, like I did for 4 additional credit hours, a lab separately. That meant you had to go into the lab, work with the dead body, which is a cadaver, and you had to take the same class that the nurses took because they had to have a more in-depth background. So you could challenge yourself to take the nurses' anatomy physiology with the lab and a cadaver, and gives you more foundation. And it really helped me. So when I went to work in the hospital, it gave me a better foundation of the human body and how it works. One of the things that you will find is that this is a profession where there are plenty of support groups, memberships, where you go in your county, there may be a small group of members that are meeting to keep up to date with the regulations and following the handbook to a T to make sure that you're not in violation of the ethics. There's a lot of ethical regulations that you must follow, because you're working with materials such as records that belong to someone, and you definitely don't want to violate those records, and you want to make sure at all times that you're showing the highest utmost respect. So you want to get a copy of the handbook, and you can go online and you can request a copy of the handbook for the home health medical coding. And there's also a handbook that they offer, and I'm not sure if they just give that to anyone. You might want to be enrolled in one of the programs or have membership to get the handbook. The government does put out an FY 2020 documentation of all the regulations to tell you what the regulations are for the government. You can download that free of charge. You might want to make sure you have the most current one, because they do change them from what I understand, I had the 2019 book and the government regulation, and now they've changed to the 2020. So what are you going to do once you become a coder? There's a number of things you can do. You can actually work in a surgery center where you can actually work as a medical assistant, doing the medical assistant work, of course. and coding and working with the doctor. You can work in an outpatient hospital setting with patients, or you can work in hospital with the patients. You can go and work for a government agency like the government agency for veterans administration. Once you get at least 5 years of experience, the actual profession of medical coding have put out an actual report showing that is very very productive for you to as work as a remote employee after 5 years of experience, of course, and become more productive because now you don't have to travel, and transporting you back and forth to work will cut down on all of that excess time and save you time to produce and process more claims and process more codes. So therefore, they have come up with this report that they're looking for people to get their 5 years of experience and then become a remote coder. And that's what everybody's dream is, to become a remote coder so they can work from their home. Now, I have been an independent contractor and I have more than 5 years of experience behind me. However, I have got to brush up on some of my new regulations to make sure I'm up to date with all the government regulation. And then I could try my hand at sitting for the exam. And a number of people said that it's kind of difficult for you to be teaching people about taking the test when you haven't taken it yourself. However, trainers become so endowed with all this material around them all the time. So we're constantly staying up to date. However, I do think it's necessary to take that test and to pass one of them and have some of the acronyms behind your name. Even though I have a master's degree behind my name and a baccalaureate degree behind my name, I would definitely want some of the ABCs behind my name, not necessarily another degree, because I've even gone back for the 2-year associate and taken all the required courses. So I am going to sit for one of the alphabet soup so I can get those endorsements behind me. Now, let's take a break here and think. Um, when you're in this profession, it's not patient contact, it's mostly administrative work. You have to know that you like administrative work. Some people, they like hands-on patient contact, and they don't like administrative work. However, I've done patient contact for over 5 years, and it can become a burnout for some people. And sometimes we want to cut our hours down because it's very exhausting standing on your feet and giving out treatments to patients. This is an ideal profession for someone who knows the medical terminology and the jargons and can pick up anatomy and physiology rather rapidly and know the lingo and can read the charts and can do a number of jobs. Like, say, for example, a lawyer needs you to extract medical information out of the chart for a case that he is working. I've had a chance to work with attorneys who are working with medical malpractice, and I've extracted medical information out of the file and the summary report for the lawyer so he could process uh, his paperwork in filing for medical malpractice for clients. Now, disability attorneys who work with disability, they need someone to extract information for a diagnosis and a treatment plan so they can prove that this person is disabled. Therein lies the disability area that you can work in as well. Um, Getting this information for anatomy and physiology and medical term will give you a great foundation to also do transcriptionist work in the legal department, working with the medical terminology or in the doctor's department. So it's a whole lot that you can do with this particular credential. And I know that everybody is getting off into billing, and billing is a big job where you are looking at rejection of claims, how to get claims paid. You are looking at a lot of legal things because that company can be audited, and whoever is working those claims for that company can be held accountable for those audits. So billing to me is a little separate than the coding. Some people want coding and billing. I just prefer the coding because billing is another whole job by itself. And you have to have the knack for being able to do collections and understanding how billing works. And sometimes when they contract you out, you actually become a part of the team that actually gets audited as well if that company should happen to get audited for underpaying a claim or overpaying a claim. Now, once again, I want to say that I am only your coach. I am your buddy coach, and I have several recordings that are out there on my on my YouTube channel that you can go look up and pull them out. I did a brief overview of some of the things that we're going to be doing in that medical terminology class. I am back now, and I'm going to take a survey on what's a good day and a good time that we can come online, and then I can zoom you guys in to learning some of the material. And this is an overview, a brief overview of medical terminology to get you ready. However, those who are going to be going on to take the medical coding will want to take it more serious because you are going to want to use your certificate so you can go right into medical term and go right into medical coding. Now, I will say that there is going to have to be some studying. You're going to be required to study throughout the week and get a better understanding of what it is you have been reading about. The videotapes will take you through looking as well as observing. And there's not a lot of note taking, which will save you the time from all of the strenuous note taking. But I do want you to know that with your notes, I want you to be able to refresh yourself, go over your notes, be able to recall the words. Enunciation is very important, learning how to enunciate the word and being able to apply the word to a body part and knowing which region of the body that particular word comes from. You'll learn the 206 bones of the body, and such as the tibia, the fibia, understanding the metatarsals, um, learning your femur bone is the largest bone in your leg, and understanding these terms and what they mean and how you can apply them to what you're learning. The main thing I want you to understand is have fun. A lot of times people take classes and they don't have fun. This is a foundational class. I want you to have fun in the foundations of science because it will determine whether or not you'll be able to work in this field and do it with ease. A lot of people, they they struggle when they work in this field. It's very difficult for them to, if they don't get a good foundation of the medical term, they cannot rationalize with themselves to retain the information well enough to remember which body section or body part that the word comes from. So you're going to be asked to determine your upper torso, your lower torso, your metatarsals with your fingers, and you're going to be asked to determine, to tell what part of the body they're in, what region of the body. And you're going to have to spell these terms too, because of what would happen if you became a medical transcriptionist for the doctor's office. You have to be able to transcribe and spell these words as well as read them. It's one thing to read them, but you have to also learn how to break up the syllables and spell them. Now, the anatomy class that will be taught with this medical term will be it will be anatomically teaching you how to fit the body parts together and how they work. See, it's one thing to know the term, but you have to have the anatomical ability to understand how they work together and in what region they work together in. Now, there are a lot of diagnoses where the doctor gives diagnosis, and then there's a procedure. And when you're doing the CPC, working in hospital and outpatient, you are looking at the CPT codes, whereas with the medical home health coding, you only code with the medical home health ICD-10 CM book. There is no CPT. So some of these things will be a little different for you, and I can't teach you everything in one night, but I can invite you to come along to be a part of our class, and you can find me on YouTube teaching this class. Thank you so very much for spending your evening with me. I hope that you find that this was worthy of your time, because we will be offering this class, the Foundations of Science and Anatomy, for free. This is our first semester coming back online. So I will see you again this time on Sunday, possibly 8 o'clock on Sunday. Thank you. Oh, devil. Peace and oh, devil.